gonna take you walk.
Before punk had a name and before arenas had lasers, small clubs shook with raw electricity. These are the 10 forgotten rock and roll bands that shaped the 60s, even if history tried to erase them. We all know the giants, the Beatles, the Stones, the Doors, but the decade's wildest DNA was baked in by bands who played louder, faster, and riskier than the radio would allow. Some were too political, some too experimental, and some were simply too early. Tonight, we're counting down 10 lost rock and roll bands whose fingerprints are on everything from punk to alt-rock. And stick around. Number 1 didn't just bend the rules, they set them on fire. 10. The Standells, Dirty Water, Proto-Punk Bite. Before punk was a headline, the Standells were living it with club floor sneer and fuzzbox swagger. Their 1966 hit Dirty Water sounded like a street fight set to a backbeat, snarling vocals, snapped snare, and those grimy, glorious guitar stabs. They weren't choir boys in matching suits. They were garage kings whose 2.5-minute anthems made tidy pop records look timid. But the industry pivoted as the late 60s drifted into long jams and Paisley Psych. Short, punchy barroom bangers got pushed off playlists. The Standells tried to surf the psychedelic wave, but their DNA was a leather jacket, not lava lamp. They faded from charts, only to be rediscovered by punk bands who recognized their blueprint for attitude. Without the Standells, punk's snarl arrives a lot softer. If the Standells lit the fuse, the next band brought a Molotov. I can't seem to make you mine. 9. The Seeds, Teenage Defiance in 2 minutes. The Seeds didn't ask permission. They pushed too hard, literally. Sky Saxon's voice had the wired edge of a parking lot prophet, and the band's namesake hit, Pushin' Too Hard, boiled rock down to tantrum energy. One riff, one pulse, one message, don't tell me what to do. While peers coded their songs in orchestras and sitars, the Seeds doubled down on stubborn minimalism. That stance, thrilling to kids, infuriating to gatekeepers, cost them radio support just as playlists turned glossy. By the early 70s, the band's moment was gone. Then came punk. Suddenly, that two-chord glare felt prophetic. The Seeds weren't out of tune with the future. The future caught up. But what if rebellion got you watched, not just ignored? You're pushing on me. You're pushing too hard at what you want me to be. 8. MC5, amplifiers as megaphones. Detroit's MC5 turned amplifiers into megaphones. Their live album, Kick Out the Jams, doesn't open. It detonates with a line so infamous some stores sold a censored version just to stock it. Tied to the White Panther Party, the band treated stages like rallies and songs like calls to action. That edge made them essential to a generation and radioactive to advertisers. Raids, boycotts, and blacklists followed. They paid the price. Short career, long shadow. But every punk band that ever slammed a first chord like a protest chant owes the MC5 a royalty in spirit. From riots to revelations, our next band tried to pray in Latin through a fuzz pedal.
I'm gonna take you walk.
Number 7. The Electric Prunes, psychedelia meets experiment. The Electric Prunes began as a garage band and wandered into psychedelic dreamscapes. Their breakout, I Had Too Much to Dream, last night, felt like waking mid-trip. Tremolo guitars wobbling, drums like a heartbeat. Then the label meddled. Outside writers, left-turn concepts, and a notorious project. A psychedelic mass in Latin. Parts were recorded by studio stand-ins, and soon even the band's name didn't guarantee the original members were in the room. The result? Cult classics, confused fans, and a career that evaporated just as Psych crystallized. Decades later, collectors chased those first records like relics, because beneath the experiments was a killer rock band straining to be heard. If the Electric Prunes got steered off course, our next group built their own off-ramp to the outer edge. 6. The Velvet Underground. Dark glamour, eternal influence. Lou Reed and John Cale didn't write to charm radio. They wrote to tell the truth. Under Andy Warhol's wing, the Velvet Underground mashed downtown arts with uptown taboo, drones, feedback, and lyrics about the shadow side, addiction, desire, alienation. Their 1967 debut barely sold. Stations balked, shops hesitated, and promoters preferred safer smiles. But that sparse sales graph hides a secret. Everyone who bought the record started a band. From glam to indie to alternative, the Velvet's quiet quake reshaped the ground. In real time, they were too much. In hindsight, they were just enough. Now, from art house to outhouse, the garage where rock and roll took its vitamins. 5. The Sonics. Raw power before raw power. If you've ever heard a modern band brag about keeping it raw, ask them if they've met the Sonics. Tacoma teenagers turned their amps up until the VU meters begged for mercy and cut tracks like Psycho and The Witch that still sound meaner than bands with triple the budget. Their recordings feel almost accidental, like someone set up a mic at a fireworks factory. That glorious distortion wasn't an effect. It was intent. In a radio world craving polish, the Sonics were too jagged to shelve between crooners. They faded until grunge and garage revivals held them up as holy scripture. Sometimes the dirtiest sound ages the best. But what happens when your sound is too raw and too loud, and your politics are even louder? 4. The Fugs. Radical satire with a backbeat. The Fugs were downtown poets who weaponized 3 chords. Half coffee house, half street theater, they railed against war, hypocrisy, and sanitized pop culture with songs that were equal parts chant and chuckle. Venues banned them, stations blacklisted them, and nervous labels looked away. The Fugs weren't courting hits. They were documenting dissent. The mainstream buried the records, but the idea survived. Rock and roll could be funny, furious, and fearless all at once. From punk zines to protest chants, that attitude echoes. Ready to go from satire to shaved head shock therapy? Our next band sounded like the future and got treated like a threat. 3. The Monks. Military crew. Monastic mayhem. 5 American ex-GIs in Germany, hair-shaved like friars, pounding out hypnotic riffs on banjo-thick bass and drums that felt like marching orders. The Monks' 1966 album, Black Monk Time, is an alarm clock disguised as a record. Repetitive, relentless, and anti-war to the core. The BBC banned them. US radio shrugged. But listen now, and you'll hear the skeleton of post-punk and the blueprint for minimalist rock. It's the sound of 5 guys saying, "We don't fit in," and turning that into style. And then there's the band who swore they invented psychedelic rock and paid dearly for claiming it. 2. The 13th Floor Elevators. Psychedelia with a price. The 13th Floor Elevators didn't dabble in psychedelia. They declared it a philosophy. With Rocky Erickson howling lead and an electric jug buzzing like a hornet's nest, "You're Gonna Miss Me" blasted out of Texas like a garage comet. But openness invited scrutiny. Arrests, institutions, and the heavy hand of the era's drug laws fractured the band. Erickson endured electroshock treatments and long stretches away from music. By the time he returned, the movement they helped birth had moved on without them. Today, psych revivals treat the elevators like founders because they were in spirit and sound. If the elevators tried to open your mind, our number one band tried to blow it completely off its hinges.
Isn't that right? I want some. I want some.
1. The Stooges, Ground Zero for Chaos.
You got a TV eye.
Some bands push limits. The Stooges erased them with a broken bottle. Iggy Pop stalked stages like a mythic stray, bleeding, crawling, and daring the front row to blink. With songs like I Wanna Be Your Dog and Search and Destroy, they turned 3 chords into a threat. 1969 audiences weren't ready. Radio recoiled, venues complained, labels lost nerve. By 74, the band imploded. Then something wild happened. The world caught up. Punk canonized them. Alternative rock adopted them. Festivals recrowned them. The Stooges didn't just shape the 60s, they reprogrammed rock and roll itself. Want more deep cuts? Chocolate Watch Band, erased by their own label. John's Children, too chaotic for The Who's tour. The Left Bank, Baroque pop before it had a lane. Each left fingerprints the charts never tracked.
All life gonna leave you alone.
The 60s weren't built by superstars alone. They were wired together by small rooms, loud amps, and risky ideas. And these bands flipped the switch. Which one surprised you most? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you love digging up lost rock history, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Next up, we're uncovering the band singles labels tried to bury and how they still found a way to change music.